Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the first Monday in June. And you know what comes after June? July. And you know what happens in July, right? Big Brother season 24. It's getting close, guys. It's getting close. Not a whole lot to talk about. We got a few little things here to talk about, but not too much. But we're getting so close. I'm so excited to start talking about Big Brother 24. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. But before I go off into that, let me just give a big old shout out. A big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my family, love my friends, love all my reality TV friends out there. Thank y'all all for sharing your Monday evening with me. I absolutely appreciate it. Thanks to those of you who are watching it live. Thanks to those of you who are watching on replay as well. I appreciate all y'all guys. Thank you so much. Let's see who we got out here real quick before we get into a few different topics here or there. Maureen Carroll, howdy, Maureen. Anthony Steik as well. Mark Taylor, Bing Bong out there. Cindy, how did I mention before? Maybe not. Andy W, Kiki, Chaz, Joshy P, and all my friends out here. Ma, of course, out here as well. Howdy, Ma. Jeffrey Bays, howdy, Jeffrey. Marilyn Sutherland, Elisha. All of y'all are out here. I gotta say, kind of gives me a little warm spot in the heart when I come out here and see y'all, see the names I'm so used to out here every Monday. Thank you to all of you. And for the new folks out here, I love seeing the new names as well. I appreciate all of y'all guys so much. All right. Yeah, a few people pointed out drive-ins and such. As I'm wont to do sometimes, I figured I'd throw out a few little trivias while we wait for people to kind of straggle in after work and school. Not so many doing school, right? I mean, most of y'all who are in school probably are through for the summer. Hopefully, get to enjoy a long summer break. Enjoy it while you can, because I was gonna say, because it doesn't happen after you're through with school. For me, it kind of did. I did get to spend an extended summer break sitting at a Big Brother house. It was so weird knowing that, because I've worked forever. I mean, ever since from high school onwards, I've always worked. And so for me to be out, not working back in Big Brother 21 and just sitting around a swimming pool all day long, forget all the conspiring and strategy and all the stress, everything. I still was sitting around a pool for most of the time I was in there when the backyard was open, knowing that everyone else I worked with was all off doing work and all kinds of monotonous, boring kind of things and all that. Kind of a cool way to spend the summer, I gotta say. Now, all right, I feel like I'm already deviating from the topic, but while I'm out there, it's funny. Big Brother, when you go in a house, you take in a lot of stuff. I know the ladies brought in all their makeup and base and everything else they do. Me, not so much, because Big Brother supplies pretty much everything you need in there. Toothpaste, toothbrushes, deodorant, shampoo, all that stuff. Now, you don't get to pick what type you want. You just kind of get whatever cheap stuff that Big Brother happens to buy, which was always okay with me. But they also had a whole lot of suntan lotion while we were in that house. And if I recall, they had lotion. It was like SPS 4 or 5. All the way up to like SPS 50, which is what I used. I think some of the ladies in there were a little more interested in working on their tan all summer long, so they were toning it down a little bit. I was just, it's hard enough to be up on the wall and doing some of these competitions just by itself. If you're sitting there fighting a sunburn as well, that would be absolutely miserable. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there. They don't really talk about it. They don't ever show it. But if you watch Big Brother, lots of times when you see people sitting around the pool on the tables next to them, you'll see little cans. And I think they gave us bug spray. We never had a lot of problems with bugs, but bug spray and suntan lotion and all that kind of stuff to make your life as comfortable as possible. All right, before we talk about background, let me get a couple of comments in here. Or we'll just talk about it. So Flintstones, drive-ins, Moss saying Flintstones and drive-ins theaters. What's with the 60s? Well, let me tell you, Ma, because of course there's always a little rhyme to my reason, right? Something like that. Anyway, on this day in 1933, I believe. I gotta look that up. I'm pretty sure it's 1933. On this day in 1923, the world, the nation, I think it's one and the same, the first drive-in movie theater opened up. Yeah, I wish I could say it was here in Texas, but it wasn't at the time. It was up in Camden, New Jersey. So shout out to any of y'all up in Jersey, because y'all are the home state of the first drive-in movie to open up. I think cars hadn't even been along that long. Well, when did the Model T come out and the Model A? In the teens, 1917, 13, something like that. So within 10, 15 years, someone came up with the idea of saying, hey, let's show movies up on the screen as well. They didn't even have 23. It was all silent films too, huh? Which I guess works better. Yeah, it actually is pretty nice. You didn't have to worry about speakers or anything else. You could just sit in your car and watch a movie on the big screen and read the captions and all of that. So yeah, the first movie theater in, was it 99 years ago? That's pretty amazing. Now here's the thing. When I was a kid, we had movie theaters everywhere. You had very few theaters like you see now, where you go somewhere, you walk inside, sit down and watch a movie theater. And if you did, it was usually just one screen. Maybe if you lived in the fancy part of town, you had two separate screens side by side. But for the most part, just a single screen in these places. But most people went to the drive-in movies, and we went all the time. And it was always, my parents owned a station wagon, so they would back in, and usually it was a kids type movie. It was the first. It was always a doubleheader, usually a doubleheader. The first movie was always a kids kind of movie, a kid-friendly movie. And I remember my brother and I would watch that, and somewhere along the way, we would fall asleep laying in the back of the station wagon, the back part. My parents laid blankets down for us and stuff. So we'd watch that after eating a whole lot of popcorn and drinking a whole lot of soft drinks, I'm sure. But we'd watch the first movie, and then they'd have a second movie, which is a little more edgy parental kind of, if I recall. And so that one my parents could watch and have a little more of a date night, I guess, with the kids asleep. And I always remember I'd always just magically wake up in bed the next morning and say, how'd I get here? And my mom and dad was always say, I don't know, I guess the drive-in movie angels carried you back home or something. So yeah, we watched a lot of drive-in movies as I was a kid. The ones that I remember more than any other ones, one is the Cowboys with John Wayne. All right, if you haven't seen that, watch it. All about a bunch of kids that end up having to actually become cowboys on a cattle drive. As a kid at that age, man, it's perfect me. I remember that one. I remember Battle of the Planet of the Apes was one of the drive-in movies. I remember it poured down rain on that one. We didn't care. We still loved watching it. And then I remember Corvette Summer, starring Mark Hamill. I think it was right after he'd been in Star Wars. Came along and did this little summer, just silly little movie, but it's a perfect drive-in movie. So watched a lot of drive-in movies over the years. Now, and so there you go. The Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. It seems appropriate, right? Because you don't see movie theaters that much. It's kind of gone the way of the Flintstones and all of that. Kiki saying the Love Bug. Yeah, I think I probably watched the Love Bug at the drive-in movie as well. Amanda Lowe saying, did you know the Flintstones was based on the Honeymooners and meant for adults? I knew it was meant for, it was kind of based on the Honeymooners and all that. Honeymooners, a little before my time. I mean, I know Ralph Cramden and all. I've seen a few episodes, but a little before my time. But yeah, I'd heard that as well. And I do know the Flintstones, when they first came out, they were on primetime TV. I guess CBS. You may be able to find them on Paramount Plus. But yeah, can you picture watching a bunch of cartoons during prime time, especially when you only had 4 or 5 channels to choose from? My house, how TV has changed, right? And I know we got The Simpsons and some shows that are cartoons at night, but not quite the same as it used to be, right? I love the Flintstones as a kid. I remember, people always argue. Y'all know I'm big into science fiction. It's all Star Trek or The Next Generation, which is better, which is worse, and all that. I remember my family, there was a little bit of conversation about where would you rather live and what's the better cartoon, the Flintstones or the Jetsons? It's tough to fight the Jetsons. Hey, they had a maid, Rosie, that got to do everything for you. But if you go back to the Flintstones, you get to ride dinosaurs around. So, of course, you also have to drive with your feet as brakes, and that seems a little miserable. But yeah, I love me some Flintstones, but I especially love my drive-in movies. And Michelle Tyler saying the Alien. All right, now I did not see Alien at the movie theater. being on the big screen would make it a little bit interesting. Aliens scared the bejesus out of me when I saw that. My brother and I actually may have had to sneak in to see Alien because we weren't 16 or 17, whatever the age limit was at the time. So if I recall, we had to buy, we buy tickets. I Can't Stop the Music by the Village People or something. I don't remember, but we bought a ticket to somewhere else and then snuck in and watch Alien, and scary movie. I'm very scared. I love Aliens. That's a great. Where's Jake, the horror movie geek? This is night he needs to be out here. Give us his opinions on Alien. Mark saying, did you take your wife to the drive-in on a date? Why, yes, I did. In fact, it was right after I got out of the Big Brother house. So this, I guess, means 2019. And in fact, it's one of my very first Instagram kind of stories and postings and all that. We went up and celebrated Thanksgiving with the family up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Little did we know that right around the corner was COVID, and it'd be the last Thanksgiving we got to celebrate with each other in person for a couple of years. Man, I hated that. But we went and celebrated Thanksgiving up in Dallas-Fort Worth area. Tried to come back home on that Sunday night, and as you can imagine, traffic, everyone coming back after that holiday, horrific. It was bumper to bumper traffic. Waze was saying it was going to be 6 or 7 hours to get to Houston when it's normally 4. So Sharon and I just happened to be passing by a drive-in movie just south of the Dallas area, a little town called Midlothian, I think, and said, hey, let's go to the drive-in movie instead. Haven't been in forever. So yeah, Sharon and I had a little date night on the way back to watch a drive-in, and it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. It brought back a lot of memories, and getting to watch with Sharon there by my side and have all our snacks there and all. It's a lot of fun. What did we watch? Because I know y'all are thinking about that. Well, I think we watched Charlie's Angels Part 2. Man, not my favorite movie ever, but that's all right. Yeah, you go to a drive-in more than just the movies all the time. But I watched Charlie's Angels, and then the second part of the double feature, because you got to have a double feature when you're at the movie, drive-in movies, was Zombieland 2. Yeah, the perfect date night movie to watch a bunch of zombies running around eating people. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than Sharon did, but it was still fun. What I remember, well, lots of things I remember. One thing I remember, it'd been a long time since we'd been to the drive-in, and it took us a little while to figure out how to take a modern day car, and figure out how to keep the radio on while turning off the running lights and turning off the motor and everything else. Because normally you don't do that, but we had to have the radio on so we could get the sound. But every time I'd try to turn that on, it'd turn on my parking lights, and it just took a little practice before we finally got it figured out. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. There's not a lot of movie theaters around anymore. And y'all, maybe they're up in y'all's neck of the woods, but if there's anywhere where you'd have a movie theater, a drive-in, here in Texas ought to be it. I mean, we don't have that bad a winter. You could show it a whole lot longer than usual. We've got one up north of town, and I think they've got a special one that's downtown. They actually show drive-ins up on the top of some building down there. I've heard. I haven't tried it out yet, but anyway, so yeah, 99 years ago, the very first drive-in theater played, and kind of fizzled out after a while, right? Which is this way. I know a lot of y'all probably are a little too young to have ever gone to drive-in, but for those of you who've had, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's just a lot of fun being in your own car, your own comfort zone, and just, I don't know, it's just very relaxing. In the days of COVID, they should open up drive-in theaters everywhere. You couldn't go to a regular theater, but you could have gone to a drive-in. Who cares if the person next to you is coughing away as long as they got the windows rolled up, I guess. So there you go. 99 years ago today. All right, Bing Bong. I wish they revealed. All right, let's talk about Survivor. I wish they revealed the cast earlier, like Survivor, instead of a week before. Yeah, let's talk about Survivor. Let's talk about Big Brother. Can y'all imagine? I mean, today is June 6th. First off, before we talk Big Brother, June 6th, on this day in 1944, what's that give us? 78 years ago, if my math is right. D-Day. Forces moved into Normandy, began the invasion of mainland Europe, which was the end of the World War II. If you've never watched Saving Private Ryan, watch it. It's one of those movies that I can't watch without crying a little bit. It's a very emotional movie. There's a lot to that. We'll do a talk on Saving Private Ryan one of these days. But if you haven't watched it, watch it because it really hit home every time I've watched it. But anyway, so thoughts to all those for so long ago. We had Memorial Day last week. We talked about people who gave the ultimate sacrifice. There were a whole lot of them back in 1944 who paid that price. That was brutal. If you watch the films and photos that exist from that invasion, tough. And it was all allies. The Americans were on a couple of the beaches. The Canadians were on a couple of beaches. The Brits were on a couple of beaches. Everyone working together, and it worked, but there was a heck of a price to pay. All right, moving on. June 6th means that we are only 1 month out from the start of Big Brother. And yes, you're right. It's kind of interesting that we don't hear the cast reveal the way we do with Survivor. So you don't have as much time to talk about it and review it and all that. But there's a good reason for it. And that's because Survivor's already been filmed. They're introducing the cast, but the cast is either already over filming, so they aren't subject to all the press and all of that, or they've already filmed it and they're already back home in some form or manner. So it's not affecting the gameplay when they reveal the cast so much earlier on Survivor. But Big Brother, being that it's a live show that we're all sitting there watching those feeds 24/7 and all that, you can't reveal the cast a month ahead of time because that means one of two things. Either it means that the cast is all home and they get to hear about everyone before they go into the house. And you don't want that. I mean, what would have been like my season if I already knew everyone who was going to be in the house? I already knew that Christy and Tommy knew each other. It takes away all the fun of it. So you can't do that. So the only other way to reveal the cast is you have to wait until people go into sequester. And once they go into sequester, then you can release everyone's names and everything. And so, yeah, unfortunately, just the nature of the game, you have to wait a little bit longer to do it. I remember when I went into that house, well, before I went into the house, I was in sequester. I think I've said before, about a week or so, I was in sequester before the game actually started. But there were, I don't know, a few days into it. I can't remember exactly how long, but we did our old press day. And part of that was going in and doing my interview in the diary room with Jeff Schroeder. And I knew who was doing the interviews. I assumed it was Jeff because he'd done it the seasons before. And I knew where the soundstage was for Big Brother. Trust me, I did Google Maps and Google Earth. I knew exactly where this was. So as soon as the handlers walked me up to that area and said, yeah, we got a kind of special interview now, I was like, oh, I've got to talk to Jeff and I'm going to be in the diary room, right? They said, well, Cliff, we can't tell you anything. You just be ready for whatever. And they blindfolded even when I walk into the room, walk down to the diary room. We're not allowed to see anything that's not in the house itself. But as soon as the blindfold's pulled off, there's Jeff, there's the diary room. It's like, all right, I guess I really am going to be on the show now, right? So I did my little interview with Jeff. I had fun doing it. I was excited about it. I hope I did okay. I feel like I did. We talked about loofahs. We talked about all kinds of stuff. I had a lot of fun doing it. But when we got done and I got back to my sequester location afterwards, it hit home that I had just done my official kind of cast introduction video that was going to be shown on Paramount Plus, or back then CBS.com, whatever they called it. But I'd done that. And so I knew that within the next day or maybe the day after that, that my family, my friends, all the people that I hadn't told I was going to be on Big Brother, they were all going to suddenly see my old shy, smiling face showing up on the screen. And I could just picture in my head all the phone calls going back and forth and people saying, why didn't you tell me? Or wow, we're amazed. Or how the heck did he get on that show? Or what kind of crazy is he going through? But I was having fun with nothing to do. I was bored to tears waiting for the show to start. But I did have fun imagining all the phone calls and conversations that were taking place at that point. But people I went to high school with, I haven't seen in 30 years, saying, "Oh, I remember that guy. Now he's on a TV show." So yeah, it was fun. I wish we had the cast reveal a little bit earlier as well, but I get it why we don't. But it makes it so much. Well, there's a couple things. One, you get a lot of rumors and guessing and false rumors and all kinds of stuff. What have y'all heard? I've heard that we're going to get coaches this season, which I haven't heard it from any official source. So I don't believe anything unless it seems like it comes from an official source. And I don't count Spoiler Girl as an official source for those of you checking social media and everything. But I've heard that rumor. Kat threw out some kind of rumor. Now, she did say this is just something that came to me. I don't have anyone who's told me that, but she was trying to say Christy maybe could go back on, and that's why she wasn't doing the challenge with Sis and Tommy. I don't buy it. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's fun this time of year getting all the guesses. Everyone's trying to figure out what kind of themes there's going to be, what kind of twists there are going to be. Just don't give us a twist where someone goes home on the first night or the first week. I want people to get used to each other. Yeah, y'all have heard me talk about that. But yeah, we've got that. But suddenly now, I guess what, about 3 weeks or so, I'm going to be able to turn on Paramount Plus, pull it up, and go through those interviews and one by one. And I always remember watching those things. And every person, Sharon and I would watch and say, all right, I think this person's going to be really funny. All right, this person is going to drive me bonkers before this season's over. And kind of getting my scorecard all set up, that very first little episode preview. And then afterwards, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. I wish, and I can never do it because I was on the season and I met them in real life. But it would have been interesting to see what my thoughts would have been if I'd gotten the chance to see all those interviews before I went in the house and evaluate everyone just based on those couple of minutes and what they said inside the diary room with Jeff. I don't think I've ever seen any of those interviews. I'm curious to see what they said versus how they acted in front of the rest of us, how well those sync up with each other. I don't know. Y'all probably know better than I do, but yeah, I don't know. All right, Anthony's saying, the longest month of the year waiting for Big Brother to start. Yeah, I agree with you. How about when you think you may be on the show and you're waiting for it to start? You're talking about a long, long month. In some ways it went very quick. But I do remember sitting around because they don't ever say, all right, you're on the show. They're too sneaky for that. Even when I thought, God, surely at this point in time, if I wasn't on the show, they would have told me by now, right? And Sharon saying, yeah, I think you're going to be on there. But I was trying to always keep my emotions in check just a little bit, just in case I was an alternate and didn't make it on or whatever. So I was trying not to get too excited, but suddenly I sit there and I look at that calendar and it's getting closer and closer. And yeah, it hits home. And I know some people are trying to cram all the episodes from past seasons in, watch as many as they can and all that. No, not me. I'm trying to get all the stuff done, all my honeydew list and all my things done that I wanted to do during the summer that I knew I wasn't going to have a chance to do. We put in a new kitchen floor that spring because I didn't think I'd have a chance during the summer. There are a lot of little things like that I was working on, trying to get ready at work to turn over everything in case I suddenly just disappeared for 3.5 months or so. So yeah, it's a long month of June, but even more so when you're waiting to go on that show. And then it really starts feeling like a long time period. Lisa's Comstock saying, yeah, we have one. Oh, about drivers. We have one near me in the Hunlock Creek, Pennsylvania. 2 screens, very popular, and the biggest flea market on Sundays. That's a thing. It seems like you could use these drive-in movies to have a whole lot of other spaces as well. During the day, a flea market or an open air green space or something. I don't know. We've got green spaces here in Houston, downtown and everything. Seems like you could put up a screen at the end of it and just have fun getting out and being outdoors and still getting to watch shows. And if I was operating a drive-in theater, I wouldn't show all the new shows. I'd go back. I'd try to get all the old shows from the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and I'd show those and just fall back on nostalgia and getting people to be able to come and see the movies the way they used to be done. I think that'd be kind of cool. All right, talking about Big Brother, I am so hoping. We saw the announcement last week that casting is closed. Even if they haven't picked everyone for certain just yet, and they may not have. I bet they're still trying to decide. I'm almost positive that there's still some people that are saying, well, should we go with this person or should we go with this person? And trying to work it all out. But they at least know who they want to use at this point in time. Let me do this, guy. They at least know who they're casting right now, or at least who the final group is. And I am so excited to think that potentially one of you guys could be part of. Do you know how excited that would make me? One of you guys maybe is sitting there waiting by the phone, and you know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about the stress of just waiting that final month to get on. And maybe it's one of y'all watching live. Maybe it's one of y'all watching on replay. Maybe it's someone who's never watched Cliff Notes before, but now they're thinking, oh my God, I'm actually going to be on the show. I better get as much different exposure and learn as much as I can as quickly as I can. So if any of that applies, trust me, I'm going to be cheering for you. And you got a friend in me once you get in that house. And I'm going to be incredibly excited. But with that being said, let me throw out just a couple of quick suggestions if you make it into the Big Brother house. Big Brother 101, things to think about coming from someone who spent a summer in the house, things that may help you with your journey through the Big Brother season just a little bit more than otherwise. One, remember 99 days is a long time to be in that house. You don't have to be in a hurry to be anything. Don't move too fast. Learn the people, figure out the workings between the people, do a whole lot of observing before you ever make any big moves, because things seem so different that first week or two until things settle out and people get to know each other. So don't be in a hurry. I love Frenchie, but we saw what happens last season when you get a little too anxious and you try to do a little too much, a little too often. So that's one. Don't say mean things about people, and whether they're in the house or they've already gone home, don't say mean things about them. There's still people just playing the game and everything else. Don't trust anyone too much. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of ally that you at least feel like you can fall back on a little bit, but there's no one to be trusted 100%. The only secret is the one that you never tell anyone else. If you keep your mouth closed, we saw it with Marianne and the Survivor Idol, right? She didn't tell anyone that she found that thing. And it really probably helped her win that whole season, because then she was able to spring it on people when the time was right. You don't need to be telling any secrets to anyone else, because it won't stay a secret that long at all. Keep your voice, keep your mouth shut. Keep your voice to a whisper, something that I had to learn the hard way. And the final little hint that I got for you guys, that if you're going to be on Big Brother, just remember, it's just a game. At the end of the day, it's just a game on a TV network trying to keep a lot of other people entertained. It's not a life or death game or anything else. So enjoy the journey, regardless of how it turns out, and just have fun with it. So there you go. My Cliff's helpful hints for Big Brother 101. All right, Chaz is asking, how long was it that you knew you were going in before you actually went in? Well, when they snatched me from my house, Chaz, is about when I knew. Now, I'll be honest. I mean, my assumption was if they're going to come out and film, there's at least a decent chance that I'm going to be on the show, or at least I'm going to be an alternate. I mean, and that's, I didn't know. I figured if you're going to be an alternate, they still have to film the intro and all of that, right? Just in case, or why even bother to fly out there? So even though they flew out and filmed me with my family, we were fishing at a little place real close to here and chasing alligator, looking at alligators, things like that. And so when they came out and filmed that little intro, I thought there was a decent chance. I thought there was a pretty good chance I was going to be on, but no one had said anything. And it really wasn't until I found the key. In my case, it was a key at the bottom of a fishing tackle box. And I reached down to change out some hooks and everything, and all of a sudden it's there. And I said, oh my God. And they said, yeah, Cliff, you're actually going in the house. That's when I found out. That's it, Chaz. I mean, it's truly, some people, I would not be the least bit surprised. In fact, I know one or two people, when they found their key, they had to refilm it, not because they wanted a better shot or anything, but because there were some curse words that couldn't be used, right? And I won't talk about it, but a couple of people in my season, I heard that little story from. Me, nah, as soon as I pulled it out, I was pretty happy. I was yelling a little bit, grabbing my family, and the producers told me later, said, yeah, Cliff, you're good. That's exactly what we wanted. And at that point, they said, all right, we're grabbing your bag, you're going to the airport, and you're out of here. And it truly was that fast. So that's when I knew. And that was, as I said, about a week before this show actually started, plus or minus a few days, either way of a week. I can't remember, but that's how short a time period it was. They don't tell you ahead of time that you're going to go on. They really don't. They want to see that element of surprise, and they got it with me because I just kept telling myself, yeah, you're not going to make it on. This has been such a cool experience, but you're not going to make it on. Next thing you know, I'm on. It still blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. All right, Mark Taylor, is the wall comp the hardest one for your body? Well, not for mine. My hardest comp was the holding on to freaking ropes. My body just doesn't bend that way, or my center of gravity is somewhere completely different from every other person who's ever been on a rope swing or something. That was my hardest competition. As soon as I tried to hold on to that rope, for whatever reason, Nicole and Holly were the other two doing that competition. And they're two little petite people, and they're just squeezed up against that rope, and the little disc that you stand on is just straight down underneath them. And it's like, God, they're going to sit up there for several hours. I grab hold of the rope, and I guess my center of gravity is different. Maybe my chest is, we'll call it that. My chest is a little bit bigger than theirs, or my stomach, so I don't know that. And so maybe I was just pushed off the rope a little bit more, because all I know is that their rope was like this. My rope was like that. Came down, here's my waist, and all of a sudden it kicks off to the side. So I really was never resting my feet on the disc. Everything was just holding onto the rope, upper body strength, trying to hold on. And once we got sprayed with water and soapy liquid and all of that, that was it. Here's another thing y'all don't know. When you see us get sprayed with all that gunk, it looks like something from Nickelodeon, right? All those brightly colored gunks, whatever they are. I always just thought it was colored water of some sort. Whatever. It's not. It is the slipperiest. It's almost like a dishwashing soap or something. That kind of slipperiness. For all I know, that's exactly what it is, and they just put a whole lot of neon food coloring in. I don't know that, but once that stuff gets onto your hands, it really makes it tough to get a grip on anything. One of the things that I did before I went in the house is I did not cut my fingernails for, I don't know, like a month before I went in the house, just in case I made it on, because I knew there were some competitions where you had to hold on to stuff. And I thought, all right, if I got these nice long piercing fingernails, I can use that to grip a little bit tighter. And it actually worked okay. I was able to get a little bit better grip because I never cut my fingernails or anything while I was in that house, just trying to make sure I had any little advantage possible. But now the wall comp, it actually was not, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. One of the things that happened with ours is they had these big balls that they would fly at you, and they'd hit you in the face and the stomach and all that. It didn't faze me at all. I had a little more cushioning to protect me. The hard part even wasn't holding on, because for us, we had to reach behind us like this. I know sometimes you hold down low and up. We had to reach behind us. And I probably could have even done that. But the issue with us during my season was that all the boards that you had to hold on to, they weren't horizontal behind us. They were all at angles like this and like this. And so when I'd hold on, one hand would be up here and one hand would be down here, or vice versa. And I had a hard time getting a good grip to hold on long enough. And after a while, yeah, that wall, it's amazing. You watch it on TV and it looks like maybe it's tilting like this or something. You're on that wall and you feel it's going like about like that. I mean, I truly felt like I'm sitting here in a Superman pose, waiting to just praying, saying, oh God, please pull back to vertical. This is killing me. And there's one time where it was hurting my arms so much, I eventually extended them back. And so I was leaning even further forward, which is not good. That makes it a lot tougher. But then Jessica fell. And when Jessica fell, I had no clue that it was going to be such a meme of her yelling. I just remember that she finally said, I can't do it anymore. And all I'm thinking is, oh, good, because I don't want to be the first person out. I can't be the first person out. So Jessica said, all right, I can't do it anymore, but it's too far to fall. I can't fall this far. And I'm looking down and saying, well, it's not that far. It's like 10 feet. And we got more padding in that floor than you could ever imagine. But she just kept, I can't fall. And all I'm thinking is, I don't have a choice. I wish my fear of heights would keep me locked up on this thing, because I don't like heights. But this was fine. But then eventually she falls. I read, and we laughed at the time. It was pretty funny, but I didn't realize just how funny it was going to be when you played it over and over and over again. But Jessica fell, and then just a little bit later, I realized that I could hold on longer, but there's no way I'm going to actually be able to last as long as I wanted to. And at the time, Nicole had spent the whole season talking about how this was her competition. If I can just make it to the wall competition, it's always the smaller, petite person who wins this competition. This is mine to win. I got this clip. I got it. And so when I finally fell, it's like, okay, Nicole's got this one. And as long as she wins, then I'm safe, right? No worries. So I fell, and I laughed because as soon as I fell, not 5 seconds later, Christy falls. And I don't know if she's so exhausted or she was just worried that if I won, I was going to put her up, which I probably would have. But maybe she just fell because she wasn't so worried once I fell, which was crazy since Mickey was still up there and they were going at it. But for whatever reason, she fell as soon as I did. And it's like, all right, well, I don't feel quite so bad. And then Nicole fell, and I just felt horrible. One, from a pure gameplay and strategic standpoint. I mean, she was my protection that week, and it didn't work out. But even worse was just watching how distraught, how disappointed she was. She just laid there on the mat forever and didn't get up, and it just broke her heart that she didn't win that competition, because she was pretty certain at the time that maybe she wasn't going to have a chance to win anything else if she couldn't win the wall comp. Yeah, we proved it wrong a little bit. She did win, but that was a tough night. That was tough. But from a physical standpoint, it wasn't the toughest competition of the season. Hold on to the ropes was tough. Slip and slide, it didn't tire me out as much as I thought it would, but I also probably didn't push myself as much because Mickey was right next to me, and he dominated. He was so fast doing that stuff, so whatever. But yeah, it was fun. Getting to play the wall comp, so iconic. It was so cool. I had the biggest grin on my face the whole time I was in there. Now, here's a little fact that y'all don't know before we move on to something else. How do you get up on those pedestals on that wall before you start? Well, big old fancy high technology thing called ladders. Yeah, during the commercial break, once Julie Chen said, we'll be right back for y'all's competition, we didn't know what it was until we went outside and we look up and we see the wall comp. It's like, here we go. This is incredible. And they had ladders set up, and a couple of people help you up the ladders, get you settled, facing the right direction, all that. And then there goes the ladder. They move to the next person, get us all up there. I almost fell off before they even came back from a commercial. Before the competition started, I assumed they would let me get back on, but just trying to get myself positioned, I kind of took a misstep and did one. And I was able to stay on. But yeah, so there you go. All right. Amanda's saying, the pool always looked cloudy. Did y'all have to clean it? No, we didn't have to clean it. I'm amazed that they didn't make us clean it as you mentioned it, because they made us do everything else back there. We had to, every morning we had to put up the shade over all the windows where the cameras were. Every night we had to take them down so they got the right lighting for the cameras and all that. We had to do all that, but no, we never did anything with the pool. Maybe they didn't trust us enough to do it. With that, let's see. All right. Once again, about the pool. Yeah, no, we only had the pool. Well, we only had the backyard for a couple of days a week. And a lot of time they had the pool covered with, platforms, whatever they did to build the sets for all the different competitions. And so I assume that while we weren't allowed in the backyard is when they would go in and do the treatment and all that. And that's probably why it looked cloudy, because normally we'd get the pool from, say, Saturday night until maybe Tuesday morning. Probably come Monday or Tuesday, they haven't done any treatment for a few days. We were supposed to shower. There was a outside shower that you were supposed to shower off, and then you get in the pool. A lot of people didn't do it. And you got the suntan lotion on you and everything else. And yeah, the pool was okay. At least it was cool, and it was water, and I love that. Love that swimming pool. Hot tub. That hot tub was never hot, except maybe for the first night or two we were there. And then I guess they decided we weren't being nice enough or something. They turned off the heat. I don't know. It was never a hot tub. It was just a cool tub that spit out little bubbles when you turned it. We couldn't even turn it on. I think someone had to switch behind a wall somewhere. But yeah, I'm not complaining too much. Being able to go out in that pool and when it's 90, 100 degrees outside, pretty nice on a July afternoon. All right, Misfire. My friend hinted he might be on the show. Well, I hope I hope he is misfired, but don't be telling anyone that, because all it takes is, I said that a secret's only a secret as long as you don't tell anyone else. Uh, all it takes is one person to say something they shouldn't say, and next thing you know, someone's off the show. And I know it's happened. It's happened a few times before. Oh, that'd be so horrible. Um, I would never spoil anyone's secret, because I would feel so horrific if I ever cost anyone a spot in that show. So if you're going to be on it, feel free to give me a call. But yeah, I took it seriously when they said don't tell anyone. My wife knew, because I tell her everything. My kids eventually knew, and my family, but not until we were way into the process, because I didn't want anyone finding out and spilling the beans. Horrible with that. That'd be terrible. Absolutely terrible. Chris Tyne saying, wondered if they'd have a season of the relatives of previous Big Brother players, like your kids, for example. I think that would be a lot of fun. You know, Survivor did Blood versus Water, right? Where they brought back spouses and sisters and things like that. You could do it on Big Brother. We actually talked about it while we were in the house. Tommy and I did. We were saying, all right, Tommy could bring his dad in, because his dad's a huge fan and all that. So Tommy's dad could come in. One of my kids, Kelly or Daniel, either one would be great on that show. They could come in and do it. I'd say Sharon could come in, but I know there isn't a snowball's chance in heck that Sharon would ever volunteer to be on Big Brother. But one of my kids could do it. Tommy's dad could be in there. Yeah, everyone's got someone that would be fun. Now, what's interesting, for the most, I guess you got people who've got sisters and brothers and things like that. I was going to say, if everyone in my season had a parent who went in and one of my kids went in, suddenly you'd be all flipped around. It'd be a house full of old people, except for just one or two younger kids. But yeah, I'd be fun. I think it'd be a blast. I have a feeling they're probably not ever going to do something like that. But again, Survivor did it, so who knows? We can always wish and hope and dream. I'd love to see my kids go on there. Of course, I'd love to see them do Survivor. I'd love to see them do Amazing Race, because I think they do fantastic at any of them. And as a parent, you want to see your kids get the kind of experiences that I had and everything else. But I got to say, I also was very happy that I got to play this game, and my family got to kind of live vicariously through me to some degree. I mean, I was the one in the house. I'm the one sleeping in my underwear in the middle of the night with all the cameras trained on me and all of that. But they're the ones that are getting to watch me 24/7 and call each other on the phone and saying, "Oh, you look great that time," or "Oh, he really screwed that thing up." I know how stressful it was for me. I can only imagine how stressful it was for them, feeling so helpless that they couldn't do anything. I gotta say, if one of my kids are on there, if Sharon's in there, if someone like that in my family's in Big Brother, I'm going to figure out some way to get messages to them. Not really, because I don't want to screw up their chances, but I would be so wanting to figure out some way to fly over with blimps and spread messages or smoke signals or whatever I could to help them out, because otherwise such a helpless feeling. But it was definitely a family experience doing Big Brother. Lawrence Santiago says, so no live move-in for season 24. That's my big question. Are we going to have a live move-in, and are we going to have a studio audience this season? I want it so bad, but now I'm starting to hear that they've gone back to mask in LA or California at least, and they're still not 100% comfortable. Down here in Texas, we're just we've moved on from COVID, right or wrong. We've pretty much moved on to a large degree, but it doesn't sound like that's necessarily the case over in California. So we may still be a little for one more season out before we get live audiences, which I hate. I guess when I got booted, well, first of all, every time someone else would get booted from the house, you see us always open the door and we're all acting goofy and all that. We did that. And I remember one time in particular, I don't even remember what eviction it was, but as I looked out the door, there was a guy, and he was just looking at all of us, and he and I made contact. He didn't say, I wouldn't have understood or heard him if he said anything. It's loud, but and he didn't mouth anything or anything. We just made eye contact, and there's just something very special about just seeing someone looking at you and communicating, even just with the eye contact, that wasn't one of the knuckleheads that I was in the house with. And it probably wasn't but 5 seconds or so that we kind of stared at each other. But I actually carried that with me for a few days, thinking, oh, that's cool. I met someone else that's not part of this house, and ooh, I got one past Big Brother. I know someone else. He's just someone in the audience. But I remember when I got booted and I got out, and everyone's sitting there, and I think for the most part, I think they were cheering me on. I guess so. I can't say I really remember. I was so focused on the fact I was going to sit there and interview with Julie and just thinking, oh man, don't screw it up. Don't do anything stupid or fall off the stool or anything like that. And don't get tongue tied because you're talking to Julie Chen. And actually, it was pretty cool. I mean, just sitting there back and forth with Julie like we're just old friends and all that. So yeah, I'd like to have the studio audience back, live move-in, and the live feeds for the first week. Oh, I want that so bad. When you miss the first week, you miss so much. My season, I think of everything that happened in that first week that wasn't shown on TV. It's huge. It's probably the most important week because it establishes the basis and the relationships for the whole rest of the season. So yeah, it's killer if you don't get to see the first week. So I really, really am hoping that's the case. We'll find out. I don't know. I've heard rumors both ways, so we'll see. Lisa's saying, how long are the competitions? Lisa, it really just depends on what the competition is. There's some competitions that last a long time, but not because the competition itself is so horrible. The one I'm thinking about is the jet ski competition where you had to keep 3 buttons held down while you took your clothes off. That was one of the ones. I don't know, our times were 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. So the competition itself wasn't that long, but because that was one person at a time, it meant that it took all afternoon to do the competitions. Because if you weren't one of the 6 players compete, that was a veto competition. If you weren't one of those 6, then you were up in the HOH room, locked down, listening to music or something like that. You weren't allowed to talk game. You just had to hang around up there. But if you're one of the 6 who were going to compete, each of us were sent to a different part of the house, so we couldn't talk to each other. And we were always told, hey, if you want to bring drinks to stay hydrated, if you want to bring some food with you, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But you have to stay in your room. It was like the boat room, the diary room, the storage room, the 2 bedrooms, something like that. And so they would bring out one person at a time. They explain all the rules to them. Then they'd film the competition. Then that person would have to come back inside, get settled back into their room, and then the next person would get called out. And it just made 6 people, it made for 3-4 hours worth of afternoon to do that competition. So it was long. If you're talking about a competition like HOH where all of us were competing together, what's the longest one we had? Some of them, the ones you see on TV, obviously, the live competitions were extremely quick. Standing behind a podium answering the question. It's just as quick as you see on the show. Slip and slide, the wall comp. I may be missing 1 or 2. Oh, the very first competition of all, the color wars, where we held on to the logs, and that was before you had live feeds. You didn't know what was going on. It wasn't a live competition. That one seemed to take forever because everyone was trying their best. And half the people threw it, but the other half were trying their best. And I just remember holding on forever. And then finally I fell. I did all right. I came in, 6th place, something like that on that. But once I fell, I was freezing cold, getting sprayed with all that goop. So I had a towel and everything. But at that point, it's just like, all right, let's just get this over with. But it probably took an hour and a half or so before Christy finally won that thing. I'm guessing because we didn't have watches in there. So everything was a guess in terms of time. Which makes it tough. Some of these tiebreaker questions, Julia say, all right, how long was this competition from start to finish? Well, we don't have wristwatches, so it's a little tough we don't have iPhones. Who has wristwatches anymore? We didn't have iPhones to keep track of the time, so it was a little tough, but that was probably as long as any of them, hour and a half, something like that. Chaz is saying, was it a complete shock to you when you found out Christy and Tommy knew each other? No, I was a little suspicious about it because, remember, we had a wall yeller my season, and I was outside talking to Tommy when this person started yelling or had a bullhorn or whatever playing something saying, Tommy and Christy know each other. And if they had just left it at that, I very well may have really taken it seriously. But then they continue to say, and they own a clothing store together that they run together or something like that. And there was just something about that statement that I didn't believe that part. And since I didn't believe that part of the statement, it made me a little more suspicious about Christy and Tommy. But on the other hand, we had sat outside one time talking about where everyone lived, and Tommy or Christy, I don't remember which one. I think it was Tommy had revealed that he lived, I don't know, just a couple of exits down the road from Christy. And all I can think is, all right, y'all are close to the same age. Y'all are both part of the LGBTQ community. You're just a couple of exits from each other. Surely your paths have crossed at one point or the other, right? I mean, I wish I'd thought about it a little bit more at the time, but because of that, I didn't completely discount the fact that they may know each other. But here's the thing. I didn't really care, because from the start of them in that house, they seemed so tight with each other. Whether they actually knew each other outside the house or whether they didn't, either way, I felt like they had each other's back from start to finish. So it really didn't affect my gameplay too much. And that's one of the reasons, even when I heard the wall yellers say what they did, I didn't tell anyone else. I mean, I could have, and I could have used it as a way to target the two of them and maybe get some suspicions on them. But I just felt like someone trying to interfere with our game. And since it didn't really affect the way I was playing the game, looking at the two of them, I just kept quiet about it. So now that didn't surprise me. What surprised me a little bit more was finding out that Holly and Kat knew each other, and that Holly had been in Jackson's apartment and vice versa. Some of that stuff it's like, come on, guys, you got a lot more people you can pick from to be on the show, but whatever. That surprised me a little bit more than Christy and Tommy knowing each other. Yeah, I kind of suspected, but when they say no, what are you going to say? Okay, man, we'll move on. All right, Misfire. Derek and Claire. Yes, thank you for bringing up Misfire. Derek and Claire might be on The Amazing Race this season. I have heard that same rumor. It makes perfect sense to me. And before anyone misunderstands, we're not talking Derek Frazier, although I'd be fun to watch Derek Frazier on Amazing Race, maybe. But no, we're talking about Derek X and Claire. I think it'd be great. They got along well while they were in the house. I guess they're still dating. I know they were dating. I haven't heard anything to suggest that they aren't still dating. They seem like a perfect fit to go on Amazing Race. Now, I'll say I'm a little jealous because I'd love to be on the show and match me up with whoever. But I think it's a great casting choice. I'm going to be cheering them on. I hope they do fantastic. I hope they represent Big Brother so well in that show. It's filming right now. I think Phil said about a week ago they'd started production, so I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fun watching how the two of them operate with each other. Claire's pretty smart. Derek is very charismatic. Not that Claire isn't charismatic or Derek isn't smart, but I feel like they both have some strengths and advantages that are really going to help each other out. So yeah, I'm all in for Derek and Claire. That was fantastic news when I saw it, and I believe it. And no one's told me officially. I'm not. Don't be saying Cliff said on the show. It's the two of them. I haven't heard anything that y'all haven't heard, but I think it makes sense. So I'm buying it. I'm shipping the tea or something. I don't know. That's more Kat Dunn's area of expertise. But no, I think they probably are going to be on it. At least I hope they're on it. And if they are, I'm going to be cheering them on. Yeah, I'm excited. I love Amazing Race. Even when it's all newbies, I don't know anyone. I like that more. They've had in the past couple of seasons internet personalities and people like that, and that's fine. But I like just regular old normal. Not that we aren't all normal or that we aren't all just a little crazy, but I like seeing completely new people that no one knows anything about and just see how they do against each other. But if they want to bring on some people from other reality shows, yeah, I'm all in on that as well. All right. Let's get ready to shut this down because it's 7:57. But I do have a couple of announcements before we shut down. First of all, Keith Franken says, hi, Cliff. Howdy, Keith. Welcome to you. Glad you joined in. Ma is one of my moderators. Ma, thank you so much for everything you do out here. You're a loyal and true friend. And Ma's birthday is on Friday. So Feliz cumpleaños. Happy birthday to you. Hope you have an amazing, fantastic, phenomenal birthday celebration. Enjoy every bit, Ma. Congratulations. You're getting your birthday, and then we'll have Big Brother right behind that a little bit. Happy birthday to you, Ma. It is 7:57, so we'll go ahead and shut it down. Man, I can't believe it's June. I can't believe we're a month out from Big Brother. It's going to be so much fun. And every week we're just going to get more and more rumors and all that. Maybe next week we can talk a little bit about what we think the themes of the season are going to be. Because I've seen a few things with Julie Chen that makes you wonder, is it going to be an outdoor beach scene? It seems like we've had some of these before, but we'll find out. But until then, guys, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. Enjoy every bit of it. Enjoy the summertime sunshine and all of that. And get your rest in because it's going to be here before you know it. Have a great one, guys. SKD143. Love my wife, love my kids, love all of y'all as well. Before I get out here, just a reminder, if you aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. If you haven't turned on your notifications, please do so. It makes it that much easier to find out when we're doing these episodes. And if you haven't hit that little heart button, which I get, or actually YouTube's not a heart, it's a thumb, right? Hey, if you haven't hit it, I always appreciate the big old thumbs up gigging, right? I always appreciate that. But more than any of that, I just appreciate y'all getting out here and asking me some questions and us getting to interact a little bit. Guys, y'all have a great one. Cheers, my friends. I will see y'all next Monday. Until then, have a great one.